Demon Slayer is back, and there's one thing that really stood out. The new season of My Hero Academia has been promising so far. Windbreaker continues to impress, and there's a Terminator anime. Welcome back to another episode of This Week in Anime. Make sure to subscribe.
I owe you an apology, I wasn't really familiar with your game.
Alright, look, I think I can talk about Demon Slayer if I don't use any actual footage from the show. Screenshots should be fine. For those of you who don't know, I got smacked with a copyright strike last year by the almighty Aniplex for covering this show. I think this should be fine, but if this video does disappear, at least you guys know what happened. Apologies for the lackluster editing throughout this section. Demon Slayer is back, and I have a few opinions. Firstly, there's one thing that stood out, and no, it's not the animation. I'm talking about the opening section. The fight near the start was entirely anime original, and it was brilliant. It raised so many questions. Why are there so many demons gathered in one place? Why does this inferior demon have access to the Infinity Castle? So far, we've been taught that demons, even upper moons, get summoned to this place. How did this guy enter at will? Also, why are there so many demons in said castle? Is Muzan planning something now that Nezuko has managed to conquer the sun? It makes you ask questions, and that's a good thing. Although, knowing it's an anime original scene from a Demon Slayer episode, it probably won't go anywhere. This season adapts an 8-chapter arc in just as many episodes. I hope that means we'll get more of these anime original scenes. They do a lot to help the show. That one filler episode about Rengoku did a better job of making me care about him and the world than any manga canon episode. I hold these fillers in high regard, and I think this show can use a few. Besides that, it was fine. Not every episode needs to be an hour long. I know it's for the theatrical release, but still, some of it was hard to sit through. The anime team tried their best to make the episode visually interesting through strong drawings and cool storyboard choices, but there's only so much they can do. Also, good god, are these two annoying. Animation wise, it was solid, although I can't really cover it without using any footage, so I won't. I don't think the show is badly written. Instead, I am of the opinion that the writing is inoffensive, neither good nor bad. It's definitely passable, although lacking in several areas. Good episode, didn't need to be an hour long, but still. My Hero Academia, the new but not really because I stalled this recording for way too long episode, had a solid first half. I've said this before. Despite not being the biggest fan of this show, I do like this fight and Shigaraki's character as a whole. From a visual point of view, the fight was really good. Character designer Yoshihiko Umakoshi showed up as a CAD, and animator Kazuhiro Miwa popped up for the first time since season 1. Strong drawings and corrections as well as decent movement, it had it all. I think this fight was, to borrow from a well of overused phrases, done justice. Windbreaker came through with an entertaining episode. It's insane how effective an action anime protagonist who can actually fight is. I don't even know what the game plan was with Tokyo Revengers. Let's make an action anime where the main character gets destroyed every single time and cries about it. Sure, that sounds like a brilliant idea. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. The action in this show is cool, far from perfect, but still, the fights are fun to watch. This episode didn't have as many in-between issues and animation errors as the last two, and the fight structure and choreography was decent. It was enjoyable. The show has its cringe moments, sure, but it can entertain when it tries to. Mission Yozakura Family was a show that didn't really interest me at first, but it has gradually won me over. Again, a protagonist who can actually accomplish something on his own instead of being a useless moron that stands around all the time. The story is extremely over the top, but in a fun way, and the characters are, for the most part, the good kind of eccentric. The show doesn't take itself too seriously, and that makes it better. Even the visuals tend to pop off once in a while. I was skeptical of it at first, but no word of a lie, I'm genuinely enjoying it. Good stuff. We have a Terminator anime, and I somehow didn't know about it. It's directed by Masashi Kudo, whom you might know as the character designer for the Bleach series, and it's being produced at Production IG. Now, I haven't seen any of the Terminator films. I'm not familiar with the project. but Western IPs do have a good track record as far as anime adaptations go. Between Star Wars Visions and Cyberpunk Edge Runners, I know better than to dismiss shows like these. Let's see where this goes. It looks fantastic, by the way, based on the stills we got. Would have loved to see some actual footage, but it is what it is. It looks somewhat Psychopass-like. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some staff overlap between the two. And speaking of Western IPs being converted into anime, the Suicide Squad Isekai got a couple of new trailers, and I have to ask, why? It just feels unnecessary, which has been Wit Studios' motto for the past few years. Also, I feel like this show will end up generating the worst kind of fans you can possibly imagine. So we have nothing to gain from this. Let's see where this goes. I don't have high expectations whatsoever. At least it will look good, I think. There's another thing that popped up recently, something about alleged plagiarism in Sangu Park shows. But this issue has been blown out of proportion by the internet, so I won't go into it. Look it up if it interests you, and don't be a complete prick and harass staff members if you can help it. And now I shall rant. Let's talk about Psychopass. I watched the first 3 seasons a while back, and I decided to check out the movies the other day, and oh boy. So Psychopass season 1 is one of my all-time favorite seasons of anime. It tackles a series of compelling themes, asks a bunch of existential questions, and features one of the best antagonists of all time in Makishima Shogo. It was one of the best things Genu Robochi ever wrote. He tackled the concepts of AI and human nature with a commendable amount of tact and nuance, and then he left, and the show was never the same. Subsequent script writers completely missed the mark in my opinion. The aforementioned tact and nuance was thrown out the window. It got to the point where the best sections of this series were those that didn't feature the concept of the psychopass, and guess what the show is called? The first movie was decent, sure, but that's because it was essentially an urban warfare flick that had very little to do with the Sybil system. Again, the show is called Psychopass. The Sinners of the System movies were quite bad except for the last one. And guess what that one was? That's right, an urban warfare flick that had very little to do with the Sybil system. Here's the problem. They decided to ignore the elephant in the room, aka the system itself, and focus on petty criminal cases. And these cases are nowhere near as entertaining or thought-provoking as Makishima Shogo's antics, so what's the point? The ending to Providence was interesting, but it's something they should have done back in season 2. Address the concept of the system, acknowledge how polarizing the concept of it is, and do something about it. Don't make the characters accept this sterilized AI overlord as the be-all and all of humanity. No one likes to root for the ones in charge. I was disappointed, in case you couldn't tell. I'll probably make an entire video about this topic someday, so let's stop for now. That's about it. Liked the video? Check out this other bit of content on screen. Like and subscribe, and until next time.